are China's second, and 美国并不是一个已经完美的。
我们希望美国在讲什么普世价值啊。
We hope that when talking about universal values
什么国际舆论的
or international public opinion on the part of the United States,
之后想想自己
we hope the U.S. side will think about whether it feels reassured saying those things.
心里是不是踏实？因为你们不能够
Because the U.S. does not represent the world.
代表，你们只能代表美
It only represents the government of the United States.
国政府。
Given your extended remarks, permit me please to add just a few of my own before we get down to work, and I know Mr. Sullivan may have a few things to say as well. I have to tell you, in my short time as Secretary of State, I've spoken to, I think, nearly 100 counterparts from around the world, and I just made my first trip, as I noted, to Japan and South Korea. I have to tell you, what I'm hearing is very different from what you described. I'm hearing deep satisfaction that the United States is back, that we're re-engaged with our allies and partners. I'm also hearing deep concern about some of the actions your government is taking.
So we look forward to the conversation today, but I do hope this conversation will be one carried out with confidence on both sides. So it's not lectures or long, winding statements. It's the opportunity.
我们把你们想得太好了，我们认为你们会遵守基本的外交礼节。
Well, I think we thought too well of the United States. We thought that the U.S. side will follow the necessary diplomatic protocols.
所以我们刚才必须阐明我们的立场。
So for China, it was necessary that we make our position clear.
我现在讲一句，你们没有资格在中国的面前说你们从实力的地位出发同中国谈话。
So let me say here that in front of the Chinese side, the United States does not have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength.
20年前、30年前，你们就没有这个地位讲这个话，因为中国人是不吃这一套的。
Now, the U.S. side was not even qualified to say such things even 20 years or 30 years back, because this is not the way to deal with the Chinese people.
如果你们要跟我们好好的打交道，那么我们就相互尊重，打交道。
If the United States wants to deal properly with the Chinese side, then let's follow the necessary protocols and do things the right way.
All right, Shalom. There's a hard one by Yasha Allah of the Lions Den camp. I want to say Kal Halayim, like Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Harakar Kodah, Shema Amath. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. Shalom to you, Akim, and Nakwatim and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. Just going to be a quick lesson. My spirit dealing with this whole China versus America, Russia versus America, Iran, Syria versus America, all these countries turning against America, and the conflict is beginning to be a hot confrontation. Now, they had a summit over in Alaska where representatives of America met with Chinese representatives, which would be Moab, and now their standpoint was like just strong. They was letting America know, like, yo, y'all are America weaker than the nation of China, economically, militarily, right? And even as far as their stance on the world stage, there's more allies to China now than to America. America's becoming a gazing stock. But you heard that guy, man. He was being straightforward. You know how the Moabites are, man, when they get mad. And he was mad, you know. He wasn't hearing nothing. He like, I want to say this in front of everybody. America should not be talking to China from a stance of strength. Basically saying, yo, you weak now. You know, he's like, matter of fact, they shouldn't have been doing that for 30 years. That's deep, man. So going back 30 years, China was saying they been should have shut America down. But what did China decide to do? They decided to increase right in front of America. They rode the back of America all the way up the hill, up the mountain, you know. And now they're ready to kick America down the mountain after America done used up all its strength. All right. So America made Disney, they made Disney, but they call it something else. They made Mickey Mouse, they make Mickey Mouse. You make Coca-Cola, they make Coca-Cola. You sell this, they sell that. You make TVs, they sell 2 TVs for cheaper and cheaper labor. That's why everything over here says made in China. So anyway, but I just want to focus on this summit, all right? Because this is it, man. Because this is a clashing of the heads. They meeting up, having these meetings, and they going at it. Even like Putin, he wanted to have a live debate with Biden. You know, unscripted. So these nations are calling these American representatives out and exposing them. Obadiah 1:7, no, verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All right. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. So nations like China, Russia, they're pulling the rug from under America, and Europe as well. All the allies that helped put the children of Israel in slavery to build America on the backs of the slaves, slave trade. All right. So all those nations now they're against this place. You know. So now this happened in the 9th century, but it's happening again to Esau in these times today. All right. It happened when they were ran out to their borders and they were forced to be exiled on the southern borders of Judah. I think it was called the Nabateans. All right. If I'm saying it wrong, the ones that lived there that took over their damn land, you know, I can get into it, but yeah, they ran them out of that land. So anyway, they were confederate with them, just like China was confederate with America, and they were saying what they trusted America. They thought America was going to follow through on its deals, but they see that America is the Satan, you know, the deceiver, the adversaries. All right, Isaiah 47:1. This is a prophecy, and the Lord making it happen right before our eyes, before He destroys this place. Come down and sit in the dust. So dust represents confusion. America is Babylon. All right, and also represents a low condition. So America is being brought low. All right, brought down, raised. A virgin, oh virgin daughter of Babylon. So just like ancient Babylon, a place of business. All right, and also a gathering of many nations, a melting pot. It says, sit on the ground. And also we were in captivity in Babylon. So we were in captivity here. It says there is no throne. So America's being brought low like a whorish woman that gets stripped of all her wealth and riches and her pimp. So and her rulership. So now there's no rulership, no America used to be called the hammer of the earth, the world police, the peacekeeper of the world. And with their demonocracy, what you would call, you know, that they established in 1776 with the American independence of the 13 colonies from Britain. You know, it was really stems back to Greece. That's where demonocracy was started at. So that's all based upon paganism. All right. So now it says what? O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate, right? That's the whore. She's all grown up now. The daughter is all grown up, and she's become a whore, man. Okay, she's no longer called tender and delicate. She's a prostitute, and the nation see it, and they looking at her like, yo, you disgusting, man. You're disgusting. Verse 2. That's what China's saying. They looking at it like, yo, and even scriptures say, thy mother shall be ashamed of thee. Loosely paraphrased. That mother represents Europe or England. So all these nations are looking at America like, yo, you're in the way. Verse 2, it says, take the millstones and grind mill, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, right? And the woman being uncovered represents shame. Uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers, man. So you got to picture a woman being exalted on a throne, and she got to get off that throne and strip down and walk through the river as a slave, getting the servant aspect and struggle. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. So her nakedness shall be uncovered. Through her struggle, she's forced to, all these nations are seeing it. They're like, oh shit, this, hey man, we try to give them stimuluses and bailouts. What the hell? All kind of deals they tried to make with America, but America broke those deals. It says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered. So all her shame is being uncovered to the world, and it's the Most High doing it. And we're seeing it, all right, before our eyes. Yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. So the Lord is already fighting against this place. All right, he said, what will I if it already be kindled? All right, a fire is kindled in his anger. So what do you think his will is if everything's already, all hell's breaking loose? That's the Most High conjuring up through Yahweh through Yahweh Shai. All right, spiritual power, man. He's already fighting against this place to deliver the children of Israel, bringing America down first, right in front of our face, turning the nations against this place, waking up the elect, and also destroying it. And the elect are going to be the witnesses of it all. As for and the nations around the world, as for and the angels, as for our Redeemer, Yahweh of army, the Most High of armies, is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. See that? Now they calling this place, what it is, man. China calling it all kind of shit. Everything but right. All right. This is Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up, man. So all the nations are gathering for war. All right. And their politicians are meeting up. And they're doing, they had a political war, economical war. Everything is at a confrontational stance. It says, beat your plowshares in the sword. So that was China, Russia, Iran, all these nations stockpiling their nuclear weapons and their advanced technology in their military, building them, ramping it up quick, since 2015. It says, let the weak say I am strong. So now they're saying they're strong. They're looking at America like we the one strong. Whoa. And you the weak one. America's a third world country now. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. So the Lord's going to send his angels. All right, because that's who built up China. The Lord, he built up China to destroy America, just like he built up America to weaken these nations. All right, and also you know, enslaved the children of Israel. Even in World War II, you know, the Lord used America to become what it is, Babylon. After World War II, America became the dominant nation on the scene. All right, an establishment of the dollar in the European Union and NATO that helped and contributed to America and ramped this place up to steal all the resources from the other nations of the world and weaken the nations. All right, Isaiah 14:12. Now this is talking about the Illuminati, but it's also talking about America too. All right, Babylon. Isaiah 14:12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? And that's twofold. Lucifer meaning the illuminated ones, they're all going to fall together. But also, you had Ur of the Chaldees, which was ancient Babylon, the capital, which would be Ur, which would be a war or light. America represents that today. That's the beacon for these damn heathens, you know. So through that, they're all going to fall quickly. The Lord going to bring them down quick, you know, from the rooter to the tutor, all the way to the Illuminati. Okay, and which are going to go into captivity though, over there in Europe. It says, son of the morning, how art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? All right, so the Lord used Esau to establish America, which also weakened the nations through that. You know, Europe and their agenda through NATO and the European Union, they established America and they weakened the nations. But the Lord said, yo, are you better than these other nations? No. All right, this is Nahum 3:1. Woe to the bloody city. So the Lord's saying, woe to this place, because it was built upon the back of slaves. And the Lord didn't forget that. You know, it's not a damn metropolis or paradise, man. It was a paradise for Esau, but it's hell for the children of Israel. It says it is full of lies and robbery. So all of that is being exposed to the nations now. That this place is full of lies and robbery. All right, that's part of the shame. The prey departeth not. The children of Israel are still here. They still have they're still afflicting the children of Israel, the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and they still have their chains in place through the financial system, which would be the straw man or your social security card, social security number, birth certificate. All right, you got to go to work. You pay taxes. They take taxes. You have to deal with dollars. So the prey is still here and the part of not. All these nations. It says the noise of a whip and the noise of the rattling of the wheels and of the prancing horses and of the jumping chariots. The horsemen lifteth up both the bright sword and the glittering spear. There is a multitude of slain and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses. That's what's going to happen here in America. Verse 4. Because, see, why is it going to happen? Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot. So that daughter of Babylon, that virgin daughter, has become a well-favored harlot. See that? The mistress of witchcrafts. The mistress of it, man. The witchcrafts, man. That selleth nations through her witchcraft, or through her whoredoms. All right, through her dealing with these nations. The deals that they have with these other nations, they've sold the children of Israel, the slave trade and Wall Street. All right, even today they still have your social security card on social security number on the stock market. It says, and families through their witchcrafts. All right, through their witchcrafts, man. You know, in the name of Christianity and demonocracy, they was selling people, man, and fighting in the South to keep keep the children of Israel in slavery. Verse 5. Behold, I am against thee. See, the Lord saying, yo, I don't care how beautiful this place was. It was all a mirage. All right. Behold, I am against thee, saith Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. So the Lord is showing it to the nations, man. Whew, right? The same nations that the Lord used and was backing America, the Most High turning them against America. Why? Because the Lord rules, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai ruleth in the kingdom of men. And he gives it to whomever so he wills, he please. All right. Verse 6. He said, what? And I will show the nations thy nakedness and the kingdoms thy shame. All right. So all the nations and these and the people are seeing America's shame and nakedness. All the robbery and lies of this place and the weakness of it, you know, and the shame. Everything about it, man. All the false dealings and business and wickedness. And how they robbed the nations of their resources. Even Russia, they stole gold from Russia in 1971 and from China with the Nixon shock. They shocked the nations. They just removed the gold standard, and all those nations lost their gold. That forced it. They didn't force. It was all part of their plan. Britain to establish the IMF and the SDR basket to protect these nations' currencies. All right, because they lost their money. Verse 6, and I will cast abominable filth upon thee. Right? The Lord is doing that. So that's what we're waiting for. That's why everybody like, well, why didn't it happen yet? The Lord is making prophecies happen step by step by step. All right. It says, and make thee vile and will set thee as a gazing stock. So the Lord is doing that right now, setting America as the gazing stock and making her the vile, um, abominable, filthy, a mistress of witchcraft that is supposed to be. It's going to be exposed, though. It got to be seen before this place gets destroyed. All right. And he says, now he says what? He's making this place a gazing stock. All the nations are looking at this place now. And it shall come to pass that all that look upon thee shall flee from thee, and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Whence shall I seek comforters for thee? Right. That's why you hear a lot of brothers, and we always talk about America being Nineveh, spiritually. Spiritually Egypt, spiritually Sodom, spiritually Babylon. All right. So because this actually happened. This is a historical event that happened, but it's all prophetic of America's the Lord's judgment on a wicked nation today that's ruling. All right, because Nineveh fell. The fall of Nineveh was 612 BC, but before that, Nineveh was like the ruling nation. You know, the powerful ruling nation from the 9th century all the way till about Babylon was Assyrian as well. So till about 539, the 5th century BC. All right, so there was a dominant nation that was ruling. But and the Lord used Nineveh to judge us, to come, even during the time of Jonah, Isaiah, the Lord was sending prophets to wake up the people and to filter out the wicked ones, man, and the righteous. All right. So he established Nineveh as a place of judgment as well, until he made Nineveh fall. See, the Lord raised up these nations, and even though they came against us, they think the Lord is dealing with them. Nope. The Lord said he always loves us, man. It's just he using y'all to chastise us. That's it. He use these nations to chastise us. And it shall come to pass that all they that look upon thee shall flee from thee and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Whence shall I seek comforters for her? Right. It say we could have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Take balm for her. So these nations try to give America stimuluses and bailouts. But now they all like, yo, nobody on this earth is going to be helping America besides the land of Israel and their smaller allies. But who's going to help this place? Nobody. Nobody can help you from the judgment of the Most High. But it says, "Art thou better than Populous?" No. So you can look at America today. What is America better than Thebes in Egypt? That's what Populous No is. It's Thebes, the land of Thebes. It was ruled by Taharqua, um, from Matazarium, right, an Egyptian, or what you would call a Cushite, an Ethiopian. He was ruling around 664 BC. All right, if I remember correctly, he was ruling from that time, around 701 to around 664 BC. That's Taharqua. All right, maybe even longer than that, but it was till 664. That's when he got killed. But it says, "Art thou better than Populous?" No, that was situated among the rivers that had the waters round about it, just like America has the waters were all around about it. It was a beautiful metropolis. They called Taharqua the king of the lands. You know. Now it says, whose rampart was the sea, and her wall was from the sea, just like America is surrounded by water. You know, that's how you know America is Babylon, according to the scriptures. Verse 9, Ethiopia and Egypt were her strength. It was infinite. Put and Lubim were thy helpers. All right, Ethiopia and Egypt were her strength. Right, they were dealing with Taharqua against Nineveh. They were all joined up against Nineveh, against the Assyrian Empire, because the Assyrians were waging war against Taharqua. All right, even took his wife and took his children, you know, into captivity, and ran Taharqua into southern Egypt. All right, until till the fall of Thebes happened in 664 BC. It was called the fall of Thebes. So even though it was such a what did it say? It says it was infinite, an infinite vast kingdom, you know. And it says what? Put, which would be the Libyans, you know, Gaddafi and all them. And you have what? It says, and Lubim were thy helpers. Lubim represents Lydia, right? The Lydianites. Okay? So all those nations were backing Taharqua. But and even Taharqua in 701 BC, he helped Hezekiah against Sennacherib. All right. But then you had Esarhaddon that came up against Taharqua. But then in 664 or 663, you had Esarhaddon, which was the son of Sennacherib, the Assyrian, all right, and Nakwaya, the concubine. Esarhaddon, after his dad Sennacherib was killed, when the angel showed up and destroyed all his men, I think it was 850,000 troops while he was asleep, and his own children killed him while he ran to an altar and they killed him, Sennacherib, right, as he was worshiping an idol. And after that, Esarhaddon, the reason why the two children killed Sennacherib, the Assyrian, was because they were envious that Esarhaddon was a concubine's son, you know, from Sennacherib, and they were saying they wanted to rule instead of Esarhaddon, but Sennacherib left everything to Esarhaddon, and Esarhaddon, he came up against Taharqua in the land of Thebes, and then you had his son when Esarhaddon died on the way to conquer Taharqua and take the land of Thebes. He died on the way there, but um, Esarhaddon died on the way there. But that's when you get his son taking over, Ashurbanipal. All right, Ashurbanipal, and Ashur represents the name of Syria. He's the one that died and the fall of Nineveh happened with him in power. But anyway, Ashurbanipal, he he's the one that took down Thebes. Okay, he conquered Thebes in 664 BC, and he ruled till about 631, I think. But he conquered Thebes and took it. All right, so even though the Lord raised up Thebes, and it was a dominant nation at that time, man, in Egypt, and it happened in the 6th century. They were ruling. That's how you know the Egyptians during the time of Moses were Cushites. All right, they were today they call the Sudanese because they live up in that area. They were forced there by Taharquan, by the Assyrians in 6th century BC. All right, now they're called the Sudanese, but they originally were Ethiopians and Cushites, which were the Egyptians. All right, during the time of Moses. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So yeah, man. So now he took the land of Thebes, even though the Lord raised it up to be a great nation, just like he raised up um, all these other nations like uh, uh, Japan, Germany, all the nations that were fighting, the Axis nations that were fighting the other four nations, like America, Russia, Britain, you know, they were fighting against the Axis nations like Germany and Japan, and that's what you had World War II. All right, and and even though the Lord used America to bomb them nations with Hiroshima and Nagasaki and called fire from the sky and became a dominant nation, the Lord saying, "Yo, I'm gonna destroy you too." The fuck? That's what he's saying to America, just like he said to Nineveh. Like, even though I used you to destroy Thebes, that um, after Ashurbanipal took down Thebes, they called him the king of the universe. King of lands, because he took all the lands. So just like America, they called America the world ruling nation. Everybody, when I was born in '81, I was like, "Yo, what the fuck is?" You would think this was some glorious place until you see what type of hell it is. You find out just another version of the Roman Empire. You learn what the Roman Empire is, and Esau, so on and so on. So this place was a glorious place, but now the Lord is bringing it low, just like the Roman Empire. All right, so he said, what? Ethiopia, Egypt were her strength. So now, even with America, Europe was her strength, but now, and America was infinite, but nobody's able to help this place now. Verse 10, yet was she carried away. She went into captivity, right? Egypt did go into captivity, just like America's going to be destroyed. Her young children were dashed in pieces at the top of all the streets, and they cast lots for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains. So the Egyptians went into slavery, just like we went into slavery for what they did to us, man. The Lord kept his promise against them. Okay, but the Lord gonna keep his promise against Esau. Thou also shall be drunken, thou shalt be hid, thou also shalt seek strength because of the enemy. Now they're seeking strength. America's seeking strength, just like Nineveh had to, because Nineveh was taken down, in 612 BC. Okay, by Nebuchadnezzar, the Assyrian that politically took over the land of Chaldea, northern and southern Chaldea, and called it Babylon. All right, in 627 BC, and then he passed it down to his son in 605. And y'all know him as Nebuchadnezzar. So the fall of Nineveh happened in 612. So the Lord kept his promise. He destroyed that place, just like the fall of America, Babylon today. The daughter of Babylon is at the door. All right, because Daniel chapter 7 and 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. Right, because even though America popped up on the scene, the Lord used this place, and it came on the scene. It became a dominant nation, and also in the 1700s. You know, 1775. Then you had the American independence that was signed in Declaration of Independence in 1776. All right, all into the end of the war, with Spain, Britain, and France, to where France and Spain were first forced to ally with America and go against Britain until America won its independence against Britain, and that happened in with the American Declaration of Independence, all the way until 1783. All right, the end of the wars, the Spanish Wars, and America gained dominance over the waters, the maritime, when they won against France. All right, Daniel 7 and 8. So I considered the horns, so the 10 horns out of Europe, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. All right, just like Nineveh popped up on the scene, the Lord had America pop up on the scene. All right, you had Egypt, the Egyptian Empire, then you had the Assyrian Empire, then you had the Babylonian Empire, and they all were copying off each other. Trying to build cathedrals and water, what you call them, water reservoirs that would travel through the deserts, and they were all trying to complete each other's artifacts, and they would build coliseums and museums with all types of writings, and they would take down, renovate it, and rebuild it, and try to outdo the Egyptians, and so on and so on. All right, the Assyrians and Babylonians, just like America, just like the Roman Empire. You see that? They're following after the Roman Empire. Daniel 7, I considered the horns and behold, there came up among them another little horn. That's America, the daughter of Babylon, that grew up and became a whore, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, man. So their grounds, Britain, Spain, and France. All right, they were plucked up. And America gained the dominance, especially after World War II. From the 1700s to the 1900s, America became the dominant force on the scene, and Britain became a financier to America. Excuse me. It says, so now, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. The FBI, the media, all these different agencies that were created stemming from Europe. All right. Okay, so now that this exalted country that came on the scene all dominant, now it's going to be destroyed in 1 hour, and the Lord bringing it down. That's why the Lord going to have his prophecies happen first. We're going to see this place fall first and be brought low, sit in the dust, the daughter of Babylon. All right, just like Populous, which was Thebes, and just like Nineveh, just like Egypt, just like the Medo-Persian Empire, 2 empires, man. It fell to the Greeks, just like the Greek Empire. It broke off into 4 empires. The Diadochi, and the successors of paganism, the Greek Empire over in Syria, and then you had the Roman Empire, which fell, but then its deadly wound was healed, and now you have what? Ever since the 12th century, all right, you have Esau, taking over the world, and now these kingdoms are going to be brought down. They're the dragon, Esau, over in Europe, NATO, and America. And the rest of these heathens around the world are going to go into hardcore bondage. Revelation 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, just like the Roman Empire. They had their political divisions, just like America had its political setup, Democrats and Republicans. All right. And it set up the Congress and so on and so on, the courts and the Roman style draconian rulership and laws. And it says, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, through the eyes that, he said, the agencies that were set up in this place, and through the order and permission that's given during World War II. You know, America came on the scene. You know, then later on you had Eisenhower, which became the spokesman for NATO. A lot of people missed that. So he exercised of all the power of the first beast before him. So he exercised of all the power of NATO and the Roman Empire. And they the ones that exercising it and like moving like the hammer, you know, the gavel. They're the muscle. All right. And causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Talking about the Roman Empire. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire to come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. So that happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I think it was 1945, right? From 1938 to 1945, you had that war happening. All right, World War II. And then Hiroshima and Nagasaki happened, and that ended the war. They shut Japan down, man. All right. And everybody feared America. See that? It says, verse 14, and deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. All right. So they thought it was what? Making America seem like a dominant nation, but really it was exercising all the power of Europe. You know, the Illuminati. So America is just a mirage. It really has no power. You know, it's borrowing power from these nations and the resources that it stole. And deceiveth them that dwell upon the earth by the means of the miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. So basically, if you come against America as they going around the world and the Middle East in the name of demonocracy, bombing places and all kind of shit, even till this day, if you go against them, then you got to go against NATO. If you go against NATO, you got to go against Europe. All right. It's a saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. All right. So let me get this real quick. All right. So even though the Lord raised up America, just like he raised up Populous Noah, thieves, and he raised up Nineveh, are you any better? Jeremiah 50 and 23. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? See that? It used to be the hammer of the earth. Now it's just a desolation among the nations. They all see it. China sees it. All right. I have laid a snare for thee. Lord, like, remember that video with R. Kelly and what was his name, man? The Isley brother. And he stood over R. Kelly after he woke up. He got his ass whooped. And he was like, I did this to you. It says in verse 24, I have laid a snare for you. All right, Kal Halayim, like how about Shimei, I was shy. He said, I did that. I will not meet you as a man. The Lord playing dirty. You know? He said, I'm coming as a thief. And what will I if the fire be already kindled? What do you think his will is? He bringing America down. So he could just put in the finishing blow with the destruction of this place, Babylon. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken. See, just like Nineveh was, just like Populous know, just like Thebes, just like America has taken over these nations, you know, from the 1700s to the 1900s, and even the 1400s when he took us down with slavery. Even, you know, you can stem back to the Roman Empire, 70 AD. But the focus is America, though. All right. So even though the Lord raised up this place, he's like, yo, thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Thou art found. See that? It's going to be exposed and also caught in the trap. Because thou hast striven against Yahweh, Yahweh have opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation, for this is the work of Yahweh of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. All right, today the Chaldeans represents Esau. or Babylon. Come against her from the uttermost border. See that? The ones that were confederate against her have brought her against, to the borders. So they all gonna come against her roundabout. All right. Open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing be left.